It wasn't just a truck, it was a beast, one made of steel, oil, and something darker. The 1955 Peterbilt 281 from Duel wasn't a mere movie prop, it was a living nightmare that roared across the California desert, breathing fire and diesel chasing fear itself. When Steven Spielberg chose that truck, he didn't just pick a vehicle, he cast a villain. Picture it. A sunburnt highway heat shimmering off the asphalt, and behind the wheel of a lonely Plymouth Valiant sits Dennis Weaver, every nerve in his body wired with dread. In his rearview mirror, a shape emerges, hulking, faceless, unstoppable. For 90 minutes, that truck became the embodiment of anxiety, the sound of metal breathing down your neck. And for Spielberg, barely 25 years old at the time, this was where cinematic terror found its first engine. The Peterbilt wasn't sleek or shiny, it was old, grimy, and tired, yet somehow it looked alive. Its round headlights glared like eyes, the split windshield formed a brow, and that gaping grille looked like it was snarling. Before the first line of dialogue, it had already told a story, a machine with a soul blackened by the road. But how did Spielberg find this monster? Why was it chosen over 7 other trucks? And what possessed the crew to drive it off a real cliff for the film's finale? This isn't just the story of a truck, it's the story of how Duel turned a simple diesel hauler into the first mechanical villain in Hollywood history. Today we're peeling back the layers of rust and rumor to reveal 20 strange, brilliant, and terrifying truths about the truck that started it all, the 1955 Peterbilt 281 from Duel. Number 20, the identity crisis. Even the truck's birth is wrapped in confusion. For decades, fans have argued whether the villain of Duel was really a 1955 Peterbilt 281 or a 1957 model. The records are incomplete, the parts are mismatched, and the truth is buried under time and grease. Film historians have zoomed in frame by frame, studying grille patterns and hood ornaments like archaeologists searching for lost relics. Even Spielberg himself gave different answers over the years. Some say the hero truck was a Frankenstein's monster, a mix of parts from multiple Peterbilts welded together to create something that shouldn't exist but somehow did. And maybe that's what made it so terrifying. It was never meant to be one truck at all. Number 19, the tag axle deception. The production team played a master trick on us. The truck looked like a heavyweight dual drive Peterbilt 351, but in truth, it was just a single drive 281 with a fake second axle bolted on for intimidation. That empty axle didn't even power the wheels. It was pure illusion visual weight without mechanical muscle. Still on camera, it made the truck seem unstoppable. Even some of the crew didn't realize the deception. Spielberg understood the psychology of scale makes something look massive, and the audience's mind will fill in the terror. Number 18, the Union Oil origins. Before it became a cinematic monster, the truck had a mundane past. It once hauled petroleum for Union Oil, painted in bright orange and blue. By the time the film crew found it abandoned in a desert junkyard, it had aged into something ghostly. They stripped off its corporate paint, revealing bare metal and rust as if they were peeling away its humanity. Spielberg wanted it anonymous, no company logos, no markings, just menace. The scars of its past gave it a face of exhaustion, a relic turned predator. Number 17, the multiple truck mystery. There wasn't just one truck. In fact, there were at least 4 each, serving a different purpose. One was used for beauty shots, another for stunts, and a few more for backup after each crash or breakdown. The rust patterns never match perfectly. If you look closely, the license plates even move around from scene to scene. But nobody noticed because when the chase began, we were too busy holding our breath. Number 16, the Caterpillar engine problems. Under that rusted hood growled a Caterpillar 1693 turbo diesel, a powerhouse on paper but a headache in reality. It overheated constantly in the California heat, forcing the crew to stop filming again and again. The engine smoked, screamed, and leaked oil, but Spielberg loved it. He said the truck's roar sounded like it came straight from hell. The irony, its breakdowns only made it more terrifying. Every groan, every shudder, every puff of smoke felt like the beast was alive, furious and suffering just like its prey. Number 15, the 13-speed transmission terror. few vehicles demanded such brutal precision. The truck's Fuller RTO 913 transmission came with 13 gears each, requiring muscle, rhythm, and nerves of steel. This wasn't shifting, it was combat. The clutch was so heavy that one stunt driver's leg cramped to the point he could barely walk after a day's work. Another refused to return. You didn't drive the Peterbilt, you wrestled it. The transmission's grind became part of the truck's voice, a metallic growl echoing through the desert, blurring the line between machine and monster. Number 14, the speed limit lie. On screen, the Peterbilt looked unstoppable, overtaking cars, roaring through corners, dominating the road. But in reality, it topped out at barely 70 miles per hour. Spielberg had to cheat speed itself. They shot on downhill slopes, undercranked the film, and slowed the Plymouth just enough to let the beast catch up. Terror, after all, isn't about velocity, it's about inevitability, and Spielberg's genius lay in making a slow-moving truck feel like death in motion. Number 13. The face of evil. Spielberg didn't just pick the truck, he sculpted it. He bent the bumper to make it sneer, dulled the chrome to kill any trace of innocence, and angled the headlights like glaring eyes. He walked around it with his hands framing shots, searching for a face. From the front, it looked furious. From the side, predatory. From below, triumphant. He turned a machine into a creature, a mechanical predator designed for cinema. Number 12, the license plate collection. It's one of those details you notice only after your heart slows down. Bolted to the truck's bumper were license plates from different states: California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, each one worn, dented, filthy. They weren't decoration, they were trophies. Spielberg's team placed them there to suggest the truck had hunted before maybe dozens of drivers, maybe hundreds. It was a serial killer's signature, silent and chilling. And because it was never explained, it lived on in your imagination long after the credits rolled. Number 11, the Progressive Decay. The Peterbilt got uglier every day on set by design. Spielberg wanted its transformation to mirror its madness. The crew tracked its rot schedule scene by scene. More grime, more rust, more insect corpses mashed into its grill. They even used real blood from a local butcher to stain the fenders. By the film's end, the truck looked diseased, an embodiment of its own corruption. It wasn't just decaying metal, it was madness corroding itself. Number 10, the mysterious driver. We never truly see his face, and that's the point. Spielberg made sure of it. The truck wasn't driven by a man, it was driven by intent, an unseen force. In the credits, he's listed only as the truck driver. No name, no past, no identity. Stuntman Kerry Lofton performed most of the driving, but Spielberg often swapped him out with other crew members just to keep the sense of anonymity intact. We catch fleeting glimpses, a hand waving from a window, boots on the ground, a shadow passing through sunlight, but never a full reveal. The truck wasn't a tool, it was a monster, and the driver was merely its heartbeat. That decision to erase the human made the film timelessly terrifying. Number 9, the TV movie Origins. It's almost hard to believe that Duel started as a TV movie shot in just 13 days for less than $500,000. Spielberg was 25, young, ambitious, and broke. The studio didn't even plan a theatrical release. But when early audiences reacted with pure adrenaline, Universal extended it to theaters overseas. To meet the 90-minute runtime requirement, Spielberg shot new scenes with different trucks, creating subtle inconsistencies fans still debate today, but those imperfections became part of its magic, a patchwork of danger stitched together by necessity. From television filler to international phenomenon, Duel became Spielberg's open door to Jaws and beyond. Number 8, the backup truck survivor. While the hero truck died spectacularly in flames, another one lived. A 1960 Peterbilt used for stunt sequences somehow survived the chaos. It worked for years as a real truck before being rediscovered by collectors in the 1990s. Restored to its cinematic decay, rust, grime, and all, it became a relic of Hollywood horror on wheels. People still step aside when they see it on the road, as if instinctively afraid it might chase them too. Number 7, the cliff death scene. No CGI, no miniatures. They drove a real truck off a real cliff once. The location Vasquez Canyon became legend. The stunt team rigged a pulley system to steer the vehicle, remotely pack the tanker with diesel and explosives, and let gravity do the rest. When it hit the canyon floor, the explosion was deafening, raw, physical, and final. For years, fans claimed to find pieces of that truck scattered in the desert. Even now, hikers still visit the site like pilgrims paying respect to cinema's most haunting crash. Number 6, the audition process. Before that truck was chosen, Spielberg held a full-on casting call for machines. He tested 7 different trucks, photographing them from every angle, even checking how they looked in a car's rearview mirror. He wanted something that stared back at you. A Freightliner, a Kenworth, and a Mack all auditioned, but none captured the menace of the Peterbilt 281. When Spielberg heard its horn for the first time, he reportedly smiled and said, "That's the sound of fear." He found his villain not in a script, but in steel. Number 5, the primer paint debate. Truck enthusiasts have argued for decades about the true color of Duel's monster. Was it unfinished primer? Was it corroded original paint? Or was it deliberately designed to look like rust had eaten through the years? The truth lies somewhere in between. The art department layered 7 different coats, gray, red, oxide, faded tan, and patches of raw metal to create the illusion of something ancient and malignant. Some panels were left half-stripped, others chemically treated with salt water and acid to accelerate oxidation. The result was a living surface shifting color under every light. It wasn't just a truck, it was a corpse in motion. Even decades later, no one can replicate that texture perfectly. It was Hollywood's most grotesque form of authenticity beauty through corrosion. Number 4, the theatrical extra trucks. When Universal demanded more footage for the theatrical cuts, Spielberg had a problem. The original truck was already destroyed, so he brought in new Peterbilts, even a 351 model with a completely different grille, and tried to disguise them under identical grime and rust. Sharp-eyed fans can spot the swaps. The headlights change shape, the license plates move, the grille patterns shift slightly between shots. But somehow those mistakes only made the truck seem supernatural, as if it could morph and multiply at will. Spielberg later admitted he regretted the additions, but they gave the movie its eerie continuity, a phantom fleet of killers rolling out of the desert mist. Number 3, the Vasquez Canyon mystery. Even the filming location became part of the myth. Was it really Vasquez Canyon Mystery Mesa? No one agrees. The land has changed hands and shapes over the decades, erosion carving new scars into the cliffside. Some say the original drop was only 40 feet made to look like 100 with camera tricks and lens compression. Whatever the truth, that final plunge remains one of cinema's most visceral deaths. No studio backlot, no safety nets, just earth gravity and destruction caught on film. Today, locals still tell stories of people hiking out there just to feel the ghost of that fall. Number 2, the mechanical failures. By the end of shooting, the Peterbilt was practically held together by wire tape and prayer. The brakes failed twice. The radiator cracked under desert heat. Fuel lines burst mid-chase. Power steering leaked so badly that puddles formed beneath it after every take. Every shot risked a real breakdown, or worse, a fire. But Spielberg turned those flaws into features. The coughing, wheezing, dying sounds of the engine became the truck's growl proof that this beast was alive, suffering, and furious. It wasn't perfection that made Duel immortal, it was imperfection that breathed it to life. Number 1, the real speed secret. In the end, the scariest part of Duel wasn't how fast the truck went, it was how close it got. Spielberg knew terror wasn't about distance, it was about proximity. Most of the movie's most harrowing shots weren't filmed at dangerous speeds at all. They were done inches apart, the Peterbilt breathing down the Plymouth's bumper so tightly that one wrong move could have killed someone for real. Dennis Weaver, the actor playing the desperate salesman, did most of his own driving. He wasn't a stuntman, and yet Spielberg pushed him to the limit, keeping the truck nearly touching his car to capture that pulse of real fear. You can see it in Weaver's eyes. It's not acting, it's survival. The illusion of speed came from clever tricks the camera shot at 18 to 20 frames per second instead of 24, then played back at normal speed to make the chase look blistering. They filmed on slopes, compressed the distance with long lenses, and let the roar of the Caterpillar engine swallow the soundtrack. You never question how fast it's going because your brain already believes you're trapped inside that moment. And maybe that's the secret of Duel. It was never about horsepower or speedometers. It was about fear, made physical a truck that never stopped coming even when it shouldn't have been able to. Spielberg didn't just film a chase, he filmed the feeling of being hunted. Frame by frame, the Peterbilt became something more than a machine, a demon of steel and smoke that could outlive the movie itself. That's the strange magic of the 1955 Peterbilt 281. It wasn't built to be a monster, but through chaos, imperfection, and cinematic genius, it became Hollywood's first mechanical villain, the ancestor of every possessed car, every killer machine, every roar in the distance that still makes your heart race. When the dust finally settled, the 1955 Peterbilt 281 wasn't just wreckage at the bottom of a canyon. It was the beginning of a legend, a cinematic creature born from diesel fumes and fear. Spielberg's Duel didn't need blood or monsters to terrify audiences. It needed only a truck and the suggestion that something so ordinary could be capable of pure evil. What began as a low-budget television experiment became a masterclass in tension. It showed the world that horror could live in daylight on open roads with no shadows to hide behind. Every element, the mismatched parts, the overheating engine, the fake axle, the smeared rust built toward one haunting truth. This truck was never just metal. It was obsession made real, the human instinct to dominate, to chase, to destroy. And in that final moment when the truck plunges into the canyon, its scream echoing through the desert, it feels less like an ending and more like an exorcism, as if the monster finally met the only thing stronger than itself, gravity. But Duel's ghost never really died. You can still hear it in the growl of a semi passing you at night, in the rattle of chains and the hiss of brakes on a lonely highway. It's the reminder that sometimes the scariest monsters aren't from another world. They're the ones built in our own, with bolts fuel and a will that refuses to stop. Because in the right light, even an old Peterbilt can look alive again. And if you listen closely, you might just hear it breathing.